And with Rosh Hashanah, or the Jewish New Year, just ahead, it's time to take a pause and reflect on the year that was. Joining us now to take a look back at some of the biggest Israeli headlines this year in the global arena is former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Danny Ayalon. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. So it's been quite a diplomatic year. I think one of the major surprises is the potential of a Saudi-Israel normalization deal. Might it be that this will be a done deal by this time next year?
Hopefully, but I'm not sure that this is in the cards, unfortunately, because of the tall orders and demands of the Palestinians vis-a-vis the Saudis. The Saudis are in a bind in a way, like between a rock and a hard place, because they would very much like to normalize relationship with Israel. It's very much in their interests. The US would like to do it, Israel would like to do it, but if the Palestinians will keep asking for many things that Israel cannot give, then it would be up to the Saudis to decide what do they prefer. A normalization with Israel which serves their interests and may be upsetting somewhat the Palestinians, or appeasing the Palestinians and giving up their interests.
Interesting. And now a recent development that's also been announced just this week of a rail corridor from India to Europe through Saudi Arabia and Israel. Is this a sign of things to come? I mean, might we someday get on a train in Haifa and reach India, Europe, and Saudi Arabia?
Well, that sounds very alluring, and this could be great news. I think this is something which is very necessary, bringing actually Asia and Europe together through this natural land bridge, which is Israel and the Mediterranean. It's also a great interest of the United States actually to counter the Belt and Road project of China, which is trying to control the waterways and the trade routes in the world. So I believe this will actually will come to fruition. When, I do not know, but for such a big project, I don't think that the Saudis or Israel will be much of an issue. It's a much grander game here, and both countries will, of course, participate.
And so aside from a potential Saudi deal, I mean, what do you think are some of Israel's major achievements this past year in the international arena?
Well, unfortunately, not much. We have been very much consumed by our own domestic issues, the protests, this judicial reform, some call it a regime change or regime revolution. This has consumed most of the time here. But this did not actually stop Israel from continuing to defend itself, whether it's vis-a-vis the Hezbollah or Iranians' relentless attempts to actually motivate and finance the Palestinians, and of course to supply them with arms, with more terror activities and capability. But pretty much Israel was able to thwart it because we have a very good defense establishment on all its branches, intelligence, operation, and of course many other things which are not readily exposed to the public. So I think it was basically a year of more of defense vis-a-vis the bad actors here, Hamas, the Palestinian Authority not stopping terror from Judea and Samaria, Iran, Hezbollah, and I think also globally this was the case with the United States. If you look at our natural and partner and best friend, also was a matter of containment, whether it's China or Russia in the Ukraine. So this was not a very good year for diplomacy. Too much violence, war raging in Europe, threats and really belligerent activities, whether it's vis-a-vis Taiwan by China or vis-a-vis Israel by Iran. Also, it's a year where it seems like there is a daylight between the government in Jerusalem and the administration in Washington, which is not a good news because it could signal to our enemies that maybe they can provoke now, that they can get a free hand for conspiracies and attacks, which is not the case, because if we talk about Israel and the US over the last year, which is really our best friend and ally, we have to distinguish between the relationship at the top, which are not great, unfortunately, but that does not affect and did not affect the great cooperation, very close cooperation between the defense establishments, because this is a great interest of both countries. And so we keep defending ourselves. No breakthroughs in case, in terms of normalization or peace, but at least we kept what we have. Very good, peaceful relationship and normalizations with the Arab countries, Morocco, the Emirates, Bahrain, and of course, Egypt and Jordan.
And so, looking ahead, would you say that you are optimistic for the coming year?
Well, I'm optimistic because I know Israel is a very strong country and its population is very resilient. And I believe that sooner or later, I prefer sooner, we will sort out our domestic mess here. And but that does not, let's say, prevent us from keeping our eye on the ball. And the ball, of course, first is to prevent Iran from becoming nuclear, to keep Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad at bay, and also hopefully opening new frontiers of normalization and peace, whether it's with the Saudis, with other major Muslim countries like Indonesia, which also a lot of things is happening under the radar. So there is a lot to hope for. And again, we here in Israel are very much determined to keep this country going, to keep this country successful. And I will just say, Am Israel Chai.
Am Israel Chai, Ambassador Dani Ayalon, thank you for your analysis and have a happy Rosh Hashanah.
Thank you. Same to you and all your viewers. Thank you.